And there is a really good sight. Daryl O. Young's Mercedes on the front row of the grid for the Sands China Macau GT Cup. That's going to be our next race of the day. And why is that a good sight? Because it was very badly damaged yesterday. And I talked about the fact that Daryl O. Young had been through 3 weeks quarantine to take part in this race. Due to the COVID restrictions, he has been explaining, they only have 3 mechanics, 1 data engineer, a team manager, 2 support engineers from Australia, and 1 race engineer remotely working from Germany.
Wow.
It was at 7:30 he made this remark. The guys have been working for 24 hours straight, no sleep, still doing all they can to have the car ready by 12 noon. Thank you, guys, he said. No matter what happens, a serious round of applause for the effort and dedication. This is true motorsport. So, they've done it. They've got the car on the grid. The fairy tale would say a race win comes now.
Superb. Well, that would be the ending to the story that, Hollywood script writers would rather like to write. However, there are potentially some other drivers that may want to do something about that. 33, Ye Hong Lee, and a proven winner here at Macau. And so far this weekend, that Porsche has been absolutely superb. This is the story, isn't it? The 95 car of Daryl O. Young.
Oh, look, they're still working. They've got it to the
Still
grid
now.
but they're still needing sticky tape to patch down the engine cover. Second row of the grid there, you can see number 99 of Lord Kai Law. He was really rapid yesterday, the former single-seater turned GT racer for Toro Racing. And then alongside him is going to be number 68, Chen Wei An, with the first of the Audis on the grid here. Another of the Harmony Racing stable operating GT3 and GT4 cars here this weekend. Fifth on the grid, over his shoulder, is going to be Marchie Lee's Aston Martin. And Marchie Lee has raced in pretty much every category going bar Formula One, but he's been a very experienced GT competitor over the last decade or so. And there is the Aston Martin for the Hong Kong driver from the Uno Racing team. And lining up 6th on the grid. I'll let Alan talk about this because he loves the livery.
Well, it's unique. I've never seen an Aston Martin dressed up as a pair of jeans, and it works very, very well, doesn't it? So David Punt with a thumbs up for the camera and a very unique liveried car. 66, Min Heng is next on the grid with a double thumbs up and a smile for the camera as well. On the inside of row 4, on the outside of row 4, the 36 car of Lo Kai Feng in the Audi R8.
And Billy Lowe with a big smile on his face, ready to do battle. Next on the grid, number 18, another of the Audi R8s. This is Lu Ju Wei, who's been racing in the Asian Le Mans Series most recently, as well as GT3 spec cars. And then it's going to be Lin Nan to line up alongside. There is number 96, Toro Racing Mercedes, for a graduate of the Formula 4 China Championship. Next you get to 55, the next Audi on the grid of Au Rei Hua from the China Endurance scene, and number 8 of Yao Liang Bo to complete the 6th row of the grid in one of the Lamborghini Huracans, although of course we lost one yesterday, which caused all the drama. There is 59 of Wang Hua Hua, the BMW that was badly damaged on Friday. And then another of the stories of the weekend is the Porsche alongside. You can just see it in the background, the blue and grey car from the Maidong Racing stable. There it is, of Alexandre Imperatori, who retired from yesterday's race. And the reason for that was quite a bit of a saga. I'll come back to it when we finish the grid, because otherwise it won't do the others justice, but I'll get to it. Because the next car on the grid would have been the Lamborghini that blew its engine yesterday, that of Tang Ruo Bin. It blew its engine, oil went down on the road, oil was hit by Daryl O. Young, Daryl had a big accident. That car may not be there, but we do have number 2 there, which is Brian Lai's Lamborghini. And yes, I think the grid has shuffled up one slot with the demise of Tang Ruo Bin. So we do have number 23 there. You can see the Lamborghini that's moved up one spot from the original grid of Liu Chia Ren. And the last car on that grid is number 12 Porsche of Chen Chi-on. Right, can I do my Imperatori story?
Yes.
I'll try and do this in 1 minute without repetition, deviation or hesitation. But I fear I shall not be successful. So yesterday, Alexandre Imperatori found himself, having had a brush against the wall and a puncture in the qualifying session, blocked in the pit lane, because the pit lane, because the timetable was delayed, was shut after 5, not 10 minutes. So after a bit of a discussion, he was allowed out, got to the grid, but had gone to the grid on an older, used set of tyres, ready to change onto a new set when he got to the grid. Because of the argument, because of the time loss, did not have time to do that, had to start the race on the old set, and then got a puncture.
That was less than 1 minute.
There you go.
Well done.
Premature encapsulation, always been my problem.
And if you bear in mind that Alexandra Imperatori has been incredibly quick over the course of this weekend, but no story has gone without a few bumps in the road along the way. And
yeah,
that's perhaps the best way to describe the weekend for the Porsche driver. But expect a very, very speedy start to the race for the number 20 car from the 7th row of the grid. Off they go on the formation lap. We haven't spoken very much about the car on pole position, the 33 car of Ye Hong Lee, who so far over the course of 3 days here at Macau has been exceptional.
Yeah, and he was the winner of this race last year when driving a Mercedes, and in the press conference yesterday, the Grand Prix press officer Nicky Kemp asked him why the switch from Mercedes to Porsche, and he made the valid point that he's driving Porsches now in other championships, in Carrera Cup Asia, so it's a good fit, and certainly in terms of pace, he's very happy with that decision. So Ye Hong Lee, winner last year. You've got Darrell O'Young alongside him on the front row, who won the first time we had the GT Cup at Macau, that back in 08, when he was a Porsche driver that year. And it's going to be between those two, really, with Alexandre Imperatori trying to carve his way through from the 7th row of the grid. He's on the outside of the 7th row, and he really needs to try and duck across the road, doesn't he, and get through the traffic for the inside line to pick them off. But Imperatori has certainly got speed, he's got pace. So the podium beckons for him. But which step? Well, it all rather depends. Yesterday's race was red flagged at the halfway point because of the oil on the road, because of Darrell O'Young's sizable accident, which did big barrier damage. And there was then the debate as to whether he should or shouldn't be in the results as the cause of the red flag. Well, the discussion then became, was the red flag because of his accident? Was it because of barrier damage? Or was it because of oil on the road? And it was decided that he should be in the results, so that's why he's on the front row of the grid. And a Herculean task by the Craft Bamboo Racing squad to get the car just about match fit going into the 12-lap Sands China Macau GT Cup.
Now, earlier on today, we have a race for the GT4 cars, predominantly GT4 cars around Macau. We saw one of the quick all-weekend cars starting on the back of the grid and making up a lot of places very early on in the race, albeit it might be slightly easier for a GT4 car to make up places early on. We're about to see how many places can be made up early on in the race by Alexandra Imperatori in the Porsche, starting on the antepenultimate row of the grid, row 7 of the grid. But it can be done.
Yeah.
We've seen it in GT4s earlier on today. In fact, the Mercedes was making its way through places that you really wouldn't think places could be made up from.
These cars are wider, it's less easy, that's for sure, and there was a bit of cooperation for Chris Shire in that earlier race that might not come the way of Alexandra Imperatori, but he's up for the fight, absolutely. Of course, yesterday's race serves only to give you a grid. It's not an amalgamation of times, but now as they come from the Melco hairpin down towards Black Sands, they'll get themselves in the 2x2 Noah's Ark style formation, ready for the rolling start. Pole position for the immaculate, very, very smartly presented claret Porsche then in the hands of Ye Hong Lee. And up alongside him will come Darrell O'Young. Yesterday, of course, they got a warm-up before their 8-lap race. Today, no warm-up before the 12-lap race, and a warm-up session would have been absolutely ideal for Darrell O'Young, just to make sure that that car feels like it should, because the only experience of it after its accident he's had is driving it to the grid and up to this point now. So
in fact, this has been the shakedown, hasn't it? This formation lap.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, the installation lap round to the grid at slow speed, this at a half proper pace. Well, let's see. Is it going to be the fairy tale story, or can Ye Hong Lee make it 2 out of 2? We're about to find out, because we're set to go racing. It's 12 laps. It is the Sands China Macau GT Cup race. It is Porsche versus Mercedes. It is Darrell O'Young second on the grid. It is Ye Hong Lee on pole position. And it is going to be go now as they get to the line, and a good start is made by Darrell O'Young on the outside line. He crowds the Porsche. He's going to try to go right round the outside there. They're side by side through Reservoir, side by side down towards Mandarin. And Darrell O'Young on the inside line with his foot nailed to the floorboards is determined to try and squeeze through. Ye Hong Lee gives him racing room, tries to go wide into Mandarin. He does so now, but he's lost the lead. So down towards Lisboa they go, and Ye Hong Lee has run out wide and possibly losing another place there if he's not careful. Gets himself back online, but Darrell O'Young, brilliant start. So brave, and drama behind. 3 into 1 will not go. They squeeze, they crowd, they survive, with Marchi Lee coming off worse and dropping to 6th.
Just enough space for 3 cars side by side going into Lisboa. They sorted themselves out. They managed to make the corner, and that is quite incredible. So, and so too the story, and what a reward for the team as well, for Darrell O'Young's team. It's good reward to get the perfect start, braving it out side by side with the Porsche that has thus far over the course of the weekend taking all the spoils of victory, but Darrell O'Young getting into the lead. Well, it kind of makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it?
It does indeed. That was a really brave pass you just saw by Luo Kai Luo to dive through on the inside to get 3rd place again, away from the Audi, the car of Chen Wei Am. And not only that, but he's going after the top 2. So Darrell O'Young leads the way. So the car looks straight enough, doesn't it, despite the rigours of yesterday. Ye Hong Lee, though, is going with him. And the white Mercedes in 3rd place, clawing back the lost time. Luo Kai Luo is right there in 3rd position. 4th, you can see in the background, the leading Audi. Chen Wei An is the driver. Marchi Lee is 6th, and that means that just ahead of him is the Min Heng-driven Mercedes, as the leaders now come from Donna Maria down towards the Melco hairpin. So can Darrell O'Young build this gap? Ye Hong Lee closing up a little bit, under braking, and now tries to start a move. Bit of smoke out of the back of the Mercedes in the lead, did I see there?
You did. Whether that's something we need to worry about or not, we shall wait and see. But it was quick on the power coming out of Melco, and look at the advantage as they come up towards the completion of lap number 1. So Darrell O'Young has a car length between himself and the thus far dominant Porsche that we've seen over the course of 2 days so far here at Macau. And the race leader completes 1 lap. Darrell O'Young in a rebuilt car overnight crosses the line just ahead of the Porsche of yesterday's race winner, Ye Hong Lee.
Here they come then with the top 3 running almost as one. And in the background, we need to see where Alexander Imperatori is. He is 9th as he comes across the line, so not a bad first lap. Started 14th, he's up to 9th, but he needs to make better progress than that.
It's a bit more difficult in a GT3 car than a GT4 car, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. But significantly, Darrell O'Young is not getting away. Ye Hong Lee closing right up at Lisboa. There is still smoke out of the back of the mighty Bert that leads the way. It's game on because, look, that leading queue is growing. Darrell O'Young is not getting away. He doesn't have to get away, he just has to stay ahead. But they're all ganging up on him.
He has to stay ahead, he has to not make a mistake, and the car has to hold together as well. At the moment, it's got a mirror full of Porsche, and a successful Porsche at that. Up towards the left-hander at Teddy they go. It's Mercedes from Porsche. There's debris in the road we can see down there, and the Mercedes is leading still from the Porsche. They're all grouping up together, aren't they now, because the Audi is closing up onto the back of the top 3 as well. So down through this twisty section on the circuit, it's Darrell O'Young that leads. It's Porsche of Ye Hong Lee in 2nd. And as they thread their way carefully around, let's just see why we've got debris in the circuit. It's the battle between Mercedes. Oh, came off the back of the 55 car, did it? Or did the 55 car roll over a bit of debris on the circuit? And that was the reason for the debris.
It came off Billy Lowe's Audi, didn't it? Off a bit of a rub, and then was flicked into the air by the next car through. Here are the leading 4 now. That leading line is growing, but there's a big gap between them. And in 5th place, Min Heng, there he is. In 6th is Marchi Lee, and up to 7th is Alexander Imperatori. So he's getting on with the job. If he can clear that traffic, then he's got a couple of laps in which to try and get onto the back of this leading quartet. So Imperatori kind of needs to get past the next 2 in one fell swoop on the way towards Lisboa, where the circuit is wider and more open. It's easier said than done, I'll grant you. Darrell O'Young this time does look to have extended the margin a little bit. 7/10 last time. Is he further ahead of the Porsche as they come out of the R-bend over the line? Ye Hong Lee now having to do a bit more defensive work to keep at bay there the Mercedes in 3rd of Lokai Law, I should say, but then fastest lap of the race to the Audi in 4th place now. So that means that Chen Wei-an running 4th, fastest man on the circuit, not anymore. Alexandre Imperatori does the fastest lap of the race. So his mission is still there.
I think the reason that Darrell Young has got a little bit more of an advantage this time is for that exact reason that you just mentioned, that now the Porsche for the last half of the lap has been defending rather than thinking about attacking, and now the gaps all close up together. We do almost have a quartet for the lead, and still it's the fast starting Darrell Young from the front row of the grid who heads the field. It's Mercedes, it's Porsche, it's Oh Young and it's Ye Hong Lee, the top two. The rest of the field make their way through Lisboa and up towards San Francisco, back with the leaders. Porsche having a look on the outside as they go down towards Teddy Yip. The Mercedes still has the advantage over the Porsche, which has now closed right up, and in turn the Mercedes in 3rd place, right on the tail. That's the car of Lokai Low in 3rd place, and the Audi closing up as well.
See, Darrell Young, if he's savvy about this, will, where possible, and this is the ideal part of the circuit to do it, try and just back it the pace off a little bit, which in turn means that Ye Hong Lee, because he can't find a way past, has to lift, which backs him into the traffic, and therefore suddenly he will start defending once more on that more open part of the circuit. So Darrell Young, as I say, possibly being intelligent about this, using the speed when he's got it, but trying to make Ye Hong Lee's life one of defence rather than attack. But there, actually, the Porsche sprints away by a length, and that's good news for Ye Hong Lee for the next section of circuit. Look, he could not be closer to the back of the Mercedes, but again, gets a better run, does the Merc, out of the hairpin.
That little bit of smoke as the Mercedes accelerated down from the Melco hairpin once again, and we've seen it every lap so far, so maybe it's nothing to worry about. Maybe it's just part and parcel of what we have coming out from the Melco hairpin for the 95 Mercedes, the rebuilt 95 Mercedes. It's quite incredible, isn't it? You just see those few bits of tape that have been applied to the bodywork at the front of the car. But yesterday, when we were looking at Darrell Young's car, we were asking the question, would it be out for today's race at all? Not only is it out, it is leading the race. The Porsche pulls out to go alongside, and so too the Mercedes in 3rd place is right there as well. The Audi has dropped back on this lap, hasn't it? Had closed right up in 4th place, but now it's a little bit way further back because we have a trio for the lead, still being led by the Mercedes of Darrell Young. In 2nd place, it's still the Porsche. Yeah, Hong Lee has a look down on the run towards Lisboa, has a look down on the entrance to the right-hander of San Francisco as well, but Darrell Young still leads.
Yeah, Ye Hong Lee's getting fed up of this. He knows he's quicker, and he's getting a bit more toey now, trying to force an error out of Darrell Young, and he does not want to be cooped up behind him, having to defend as well. By the way, 6th now is Alexandre Imperatori, so he's got himself up past Marchi Lee. But look, you can see the way the Porsche is moving around a little bit more. He's not content just to sit in the wheel track on the mountain section of the circuit. He wants to be ahead, and he needs to stay close. The gap over the line was 0.4 of a second. I would offer you that it's the exit of the Melco hairpin where the gap opens up, actually.
Yes.
So good is the Mercedes at getting the power down. That's where it seems to steal back the advantage. And look, it's happened again. Ye Hong Lee drops away slightly, so he's now under attack from the Mercedes. But as they go down towards police, it could well be that the gap closes. Yes, it does once again, but Darrell Young is still in charge because you ain't going to get two of them side by side up here.
No, not a place to pass in pretty much any discipline. The touring cars have a little look, but generally there isn't enough space, certainly not in a GT3 car as they make their way around the left-hander Donna Maria up towards the Melco hairpin, where David has just suggested has been thus far a really good exit for Darrell Young, and maybe claws out a bit of an advantage over the Porsche on the run down through Black Sands, Fisherman's and on towards Arbennes. The final turn of the gear circuit here at Macau, and the completion of what will be 4 laps out of 12. On his way to 6th place, Alexandre Imperatori has put in a fastest lap of the race at 2:22.118, and the last lap he did was at 2:22.166, compares to a 2:22.371. So Alexander Imperatori going half a second quicker than the race leader on the previous lap.
The lead gap is still 0.4 of a second. But now Ye Hong Lee, as you see Imperatori going for the pit lane again. In the background there, the Porsche is back in. Don't tell me it's yet another puncher for him. He's done the fastest lap of the race, but now he's in the pit lane. So Imperatori is in strife. Here are the leaders. Back towards us, 4/10 was the margin. Daryl O'Young is still clear. So much bravery in the first couple of corners on cold tyres to keep the advantage from the outside of the grid as well. Ye Hong Lee again tries to unsettle him by a look on the inside into Lisboa. It's the drive out of the corners where the torque, I think, of the Mercedes is standing him in good stead. It's out of the slow corners where Daryl Young is able to rumble away ahead of the Porsche.
I just wondered if I saw a little bit more smoke coming out the back of the Mercedes. I don't know if that's my imagination, but coming out of Lisboa, going into San Francisco, it looked as if there was smoke coming out of the back of the leading Mercedes. We'll keep an eye on it. So far, it doesn't appear to have impeded when we saw the smoke at the exit of Melco Hairpin. He's got a Porsche right on his tail at the moment, with a great view of any times we see those wisps of smoke coming out the back of the leading car of Daryl O'Young. And there's been contact there. That's the 36 car of Lokai Fung.
Well, remember, we'd already seen it shed a bit of bodywork, and it's shed a bit more there. Look, which the BMW biffs aside. So Billy Lowe's green Audi. Oh, yes, front splitter ripped off as well. That's bound for the pit lane, surely. That will sound horrible, clattering and chattering its way around the racetrack. The race leaders together again. This important in a way that Ye Hong Lee doesn't fall back into the clutches of Lokai Law. Down towards the Melco hairpin they come. And let's see whether or not it's going to be the Mercedes with the better exit. Daryl Young virtually stops midway round the corner and then gets away, almost like he's sort of doing the safety car restart launch, isn't it?
It's really impressive, isn't it? Every time. And that was possibly a slightly better exit than on the previous lap out of the Melco hairpin. Certainly the line seemed to be well suited to getting the power down nice and early. So Daryl O'Young, number 95 in the Mercedes, with the patched up front bodywork of the Mercedes, still leading the race. On lap 5, about to complete lap 5 and go onto the half distance lap, this time having to really defend from the Porsche, defend every single line. Daryl O'Young, very, very determined driver this for the team, for himself to make up for a very sad end to the 8-lap race on Saturday here at Macau. Mercedes leads Porsche from Mercedes and Audi.
But Ye Hong Lee is getting ever more determined, isn't he? Daryl O'Young sits in the middle of the road. Ye Hong Lee again closing right up to the inside. That's never going to work, but what it might do is just make Daryl O'Young do a double take in the mirror and make a mistake. But Daryl is soaking up the pressure, sponge-like, as he climbs up San Francisco Hill now. And Ye Hong Lee in the Porsche, having been on pole position for yesterday's race, which he won, but right now he is unable to find a way up alongside that Mercedes. I think if he got through, he will pull away. It's just being able to get the run through the exit of the hairpin and Black Sands to make the move. He's never close enough where he needs to be coming onto the start-finish straight and carry that momentum down to Lisboa. He has to do the catching, so that by the time he's got to Lisboa, it's too late.
I'm sorry to report that the number 20 car, Alexander Imperatori in the Porsche, is still in pit lane, which is not good news. It's been a troubled weekend. He's been spectacular to watch. I think back particularly to Friday here at Macau. He was very, very impressive indeed, but hasn't had all of the luck required this weekend. Alexander Imperatori, and in pit lane at the moment. Still, Daryl O'Young, the 95 Mercedes, the rebuilt car, defending from the Porsche, the race winner from yesterday of Ye Hong Lee. The two have broken away a little bit on the run down towards Melco on this occasion. This the half distance lap. They thread their way through, and that's not the work of a moment, threading these big GT3 cars through the Melco hairpin, and that is one of the potential places that you could make a mistake, which is exactly what Ye Hong Lee is hoping to happen. We've got 66, which has come to a stop. The Mercedes has come to a stop from a good position in the race as well. That's Ming Heng.
Was fifth, you're right. Right, here are the leaders into the R-bend. The gap last time was 3/10. Looks as though it might have come down a little bit this time. So can Ye Hong Lee start the attack as we get into the second half of the race now? The margin has gone up, in fact, 0.4 of a second. So still not much to choose, but it's advantage O'Young at the moment. But Ye Hong Lee now, look, tries to hustle on. Comes out of the draft. and is still, as they bounce their way towards Mandarin, too far back, flash through the right-hander. I think you're right about that smoke coming out of the back of the Merc as well. It just looks a little bit grubbier than it did earlier on. And again, look, Darryl O'Young covers off the inside line, and Ye Hong Lee closing, under braking, gets into the back of the Mercedes there. Still can't force the issue, but that illustrates the determination as somebody else has been in the wall, and that is Yo Liang Bo, who gets back into the race with a crumpled Lamborghini Huracan. But now you can sense the frustration on the part of Ye Hong Lee. He's fed up of being stuck behind this Mercedes. Let me through, he wants, but not happening. And now, because he's also stuck behind him, Lord Kai Law is caught back up as well.
Yeah, and that occasion going into Lisboa, it just looks as if the approach for Darryl O'Young was not quite as perfect as it had been on previous laps. We are seeing a little bit more smoke coming from the back of that car, and we've been watching it for a couple of laps now. And with the Porsche and the Mercedes close together, we've got a waved yellow area on the circuit that they're just going through now, to indicate that stricken Mercedes, which has come to a stop on the right-hand side. That's the first time they've been past the car as they come through police up towards Moorish. They turn through the corner, the quartet for the lead, and it has been this story from the start of the race. There have been no position changes, but boy, have they been close, being led by the 95 Mercedes of Darryl O'Young.
I think you're right about that entry to Lisboa last time, but possibly it was to cover off any challenge on the inside. So because he was on the wrong line, hence it didn't look that good when he got to the corner. The Mercedes, I just think it's being worked a bit harder. Slippery surface flag, which might be for debris, might be for liquid. Here come the race leaders. Oh, it is debris. Look, big chunk of debris in the road there. But now Ye Hong Lee is closer than ever, I would suggest, coming through Fisherman's. It's game on between the two. He's shaken off the white Mercedes behind him of Lord Kai Law. He's right on the back of Darryl O'Young as they come down towards our bend. So the move starts, dives to the inside line. Darryl O'Young is feeling the pressure, and that Mercedes does not look quite as stable as once it did. The bodywork is off the 8 Lamborghini that's just got into the pit lane of Yo Liang Bo. Leaders go through. Actually, because that move didn't work, the margin is up to half a second, and there's a back marker up the road as well now, which might help or hinder. Here they come. Darryl O'Young looked just a little bit further up the road, and the Audi's got a problem in 4th place because suddenly, look, Chen Wei-an has slowed right down. That might have been a puncture, but the Audi slows and drops out of the race as the leaders come down towards Lisboa, and Darryl O'Young is not going to get through, or is he? Billy Lowe keeps out of the way. Yes, disappears, in fact, out of the way. So the leaders do go by.
And I was just watching the Mercedes coming out of Melco. We were early on in the race talking about the good exit from the Melco hairpin. That exit didn't gain an advantage for Darryl O'Young that time, and that was maybe the first time that we didn't see an advantage for the Mercedes.
It is a puncture look on the Audi.
It is.
There's debris on the road, and that is Chen Wei-an out of the race. Yeah, again, we know that Mercedes might not be perfect. Maybe it's chewing up its tyres a little bit because it's not quite right in the setup. But it hasn't looked as stable for the last couple of laps. No. I think it's all fitting together, isn't it? Look, it's nervous there, just twitching ever so slightly. Darryl O'Young feeling the pressure, no question about it. And this yellow flag zone gives him a bit of breathing space for a corner or two. It
does, with the Porsche right on the tail through that yellow flag zone. They press on. They're on lap number 8 of 12. This is the 4-lap longer race than we had on Saturday for the GT3 cars. And very much in traffic. We've got a waved yellow. We've got a safety car being deployed. So we're about to see why. It is for the incident for the number 8 car that we've already described for Yo Liang Bo. And Yo Liang Bo, that car coming to a stop, needs to be recovered. And therefore, we have a safety car being deployed for the first time during this race. That might be good news for the race leader, for Darryl O'Young, to give the car a little bit of a rest, perhaps. And the pressure is off for a little while. It's for a number of reasons, isn't it? That bodywork needs to be recovered from the circuit as well. But this does present an opportunity on the restart for the Porsche of Ye Hong Lee, who has kept up the pressure on the back of the fast-starting Darryl O'Young. That was a great start, wasn't it? The two of them side by side.
Fantastic. Darryl O'Young was so brave going into Reservoir Bend on the outside because he knew that the road would come to him on the inside for Mandarin if he could stay there, and he did. And he owes that lead to that one move. It's a great start, and Ye Hong Lee really should have been able to jump ahead on the inside, but didn't get as good a getaway as Darryl O'Young. So you can see the determination, and Darryl O'Young leads them through. Now, this safety car might help him in another way, because it just means the tyres can have a breather. So if he was struggling with them, if they were being a bit chewed, this allows them to keep some of the longevity with these laps counting. You don't get laps added on. This all counts within the 12-lap duration of the race.
So, excitement thus far and drama over the course of the weekend for the Macau Grand Prix with the Sands China Macau GT Cup. And the drama continues in the final race of the weekend for these cars. The story as it unfolds, and this so often happens at Macau, there is a thread, a story that runs over the course of 3, sometimes 4 days for the Macau Grand Prix. And all of it comes down to the last few laps of the 12-lap race on a Sunday. Thrilling stuff. Absolutely. For the crowd, thrilling stuff for us. And what a field of cars. You made the point yesterday that with these beautiful GT3 cars that have proved to be so popular and they provide such great racing, they're a spectacle to watch, but it is very rare that you have these cars being occupied by just one driver over the course of a sprint race as opposed to some kind of endurance race. And this is one of our joys. Absolutely superb of a Macau Grand Prix weekend to have this race.
It is, and it's also fascinating to see how drivers fare against one another. Alexandre Imperatori, by the way, back out a lap down, but he's back in the race. But Imperatori, international GT racer, Darryl O'Young, GT and touring car racer from World Championships, and then you've got the to call them local drivers almost makes them sound like club racers. I don't mean that, but drivers from this region,
from the area,
who from for themselves race at a high level. But then you put them all on the same grid at the most challenging circuit, and it really does become fascinating. And it's not Darryl O'Young and Imperatori ahead by 20 seconds. The rest of them, perhaps less experienced in GT3 terms, but they're able to stay with them and make a real fight of it. And Ye Hong Lee has been mighty impressive all weekend. So we're
Alexandre Imperatori is back on track.
Yeah, but a lap down, as I was mentioning.
Sorry, I didn't hear you say that. I just noticed the car.
Yeah, I was trying to get to the bottom of why the pit stop, but plot thickens. It was enough to cost him a lap, but not serious enough to put him out of the race. So it could have been another puncture. He suffered more than anybody with those this weekend.
Had a few today, haven't we?
Yeah.
In the slightly longer races, 12 laps makes a difference. An extra 4 laps around the gear circuit here at Macau. The BMW safety car leading the field around. You're right, a little breather for the car is possibly a good thing. Yeah. It's been smoking from the start of the race, and we're not really sure what that smoke is. If it's potentially a little bit of bodywork smoke or something perhaps a little more sinister than that, but the 95 car for sure in certainly 2 areas of the circuit has been displaying a little bit of smoke. One is coming out of Lisboa, one is coming out of the Melco hairpin.
I think what you'll also find during the course of this safety car period, Alan, from time to time, are cars dropping back just so they can get in some cool air, because if you're all bunched up in a line like this, there's very little air circulating. You're not going quick enough either. It's a really slow safety car period. So as drivers look towards gauges and temperatures, they might well back off to get some cooler air and then be able to accelerate a little to, again, get a faster airflow to help cool things down. So it might be that you start to see people opening gaps and closing gaps, but the safety car will do at least one more lap with the queue behind.
Threading their way through the incredibly challenging Melco hairpin. Single file, that's the way it has to be for the entire course of the Macau Grand Prix weekend. No overtaking allowed. They head into the yellow flag zone, and then they're given the green flag just after they exit the Melco hairpin to enable overtaking to happen once again. So behind the BMW safety car on lap 9 out of 12 into the final quarter of the race.
Well, the lights are still on, so we're going to have one more lap behind the safety car, and of course all of this meaning that there are fewer laps on the restart for Ye Hong Lee to be able to make a move. So he's got to do it really when we go green again. He's got to be right on the back of that Mercedes. No hanging about. Go for it.
These safety car interventions, particularly around Macau, require utter concentration for every moment. There's so much going on, although we're not running at full race speed, looking after tyres, monitoring exactly what's happening around them, and getting ready for the restart. Ultimate concentration. And you would imagine at the end of 12 laps in any one of the disciplines that we have racing here at Macau, you would be pretty exhausted at the end of 12 laps around this circuit. One of the touring car drivers that finished up on the podium earlier on today in one of our opening races had quite a breathe out when he got out of the car, that he was pretty exhausted after 12 laps, and he was a young and very fit athlete, and these cars require quite a lot of attention, don't they, GT3 car?
Yeah, they're physical things. I mean, they are hard and heavy because the aero clamps them down to the ground, and as the field weaves around to keep the warmth in the Avon rubber, they come down towards Lisboa. Now we've got, of course, a stationary car on that part of the circuit, but I think the track and the line would keep you away from that. But the bigger question is the 66 Mercedes that needs retrieving, the car that we saw earlier of Ming Hang. So lights still flash, safety car on lap 10. So at best it's going to be 2 laps, isn't it?
Yes, and they are on lap 10 of 12. Still every opportunity, getting heat into the tyres behind the BMW, but as you say, comparatively slow laps. Everything begins to lose a bit of temperature. Number 12 car just in the back. We've not spoken too much about the very smartly presented number 12 Porsche of Chen Chion from the SLM racing team. Looks really good, that car. Maybe one of the only opportunities behind the safety car that we get to see the entire field, because the battle at the front has been so dramatic and so intense, so interesting to watch. We've really only been focusing on the top 4 or 3 cars, haven't we?
Yeah, and there are some good fights going on lower down. It's a real shame that Imperatore had the drama to lose the lap, because that car should by rights have been in the mix. It's actually sort of joined in the queue where it was racing in the first place, so it's a direct lap that it has lost. But pretty much everybody had found somebody to battle with, and Darrell Young thinking, come on, safety car, stay out, let me win this race, which would be fine reward for his commitment and that of the team. But that car still isn't off the road, is it?
No, it's not.
It's a long lap, as we say. It depends really where the next point is to go and park that car off the circuit, where the next access gap is. But it's been lifted. They can't move until the race cars have gone through. There's your answer. I think if you could get up that gap at police, we've got a chance.
Yes, we can. At the moment, we're on lap 10 out of 12. And the teams do work absolutely as speedily as they can. They are in contact with race control that will be indicating what to do next. They are fully aware of the need for urgency in their recovery, and they do just an incredible job. When we saw a very large accident in race 2 of the day today, we were both, although we're no strangers to Macau, we were still just so surprised how quickly they were able to deal with a multi-car incident and the numerous tasks that they had to complete to get the circuit quickly ready for the next race on the timetable. It's an incredible job that they do.
And there's the damaged Mercedes, so that's why it stopped. Punctured tyre and damage to the front. So can we get the car off the road? The other problem is you've got an Audi that was being retrieved from Mandarin. So where on the racetrack are they? They're down at Black Sands. If it's going to be in, it's going to be really, really tight. And all of this is going to help Darrell Young because the lights are still flashing. It's going to do another lap, isn't it? And
it's going to go on to one more lap.
Yeah, which means one racing lap at the end.
It does. And when we talk about it being a sprint for the checkered flag, well, it really is going to be a sprint because 12 laps, one car peeling off into pit lane there.
Yeah, I think it was Billy Lowe's damaged Audi that was out of sequence anyway. It was on the on a different lap, and now you've got to do some precision reversing to get the Mercedes through the gap. Well, we know they can do it. We've seen them do it already today. So the field comes through. There is the Audi being retrieved as well of Chen Wei-an. So this should be the last lap behind the safety car, and it will give us just one racing lap to the end.
Daryl Young knows the importance of having those tyres up to temperature. He's going to be under pressure from the Porsche, knows it, and the car has got to be ready to take the start over what is going to be a very intense final lap around Macau.
But he's in the box seat. He will be able to choose when to go. Safety car is in this time, but if Daryl Young can do what he did on the original start, he'll be absolutely fine, and he was brave enough to do it. So Ye-Hong Lee will be working out where he might be able to accelerate, but he can't go until Daryl Young accelerates, so he's got to be ready within a split second to nail his foot to the throttle and go after the leader.
I think one of the questions is Daryl Young's car as sweet as it was for the first of the starts? And the Porsche, I think we've rather seen, is good for the duration of the race, but that Mercedes of Daryl Young has been rebuilt overnight. Incredible work by the team to make sure that it could take the start of this 12-lap race today on Grand Prix Day, and all of the potential accolades that could be passed on to the team with a top step of the podium for our Sands China Macau GT Cup race. Thrilling races these always are for the GT cars around the streets of Macau, and you can never quite write the script before the race gets underway. You tried, and at the moment it's going according to your script.
Well, Daryl Young in a sense deserves a win, but so does Ye-Hong Lee, and we've got one lap between them. But really, if the lead doesn't change by Lisboa, I wouldn't think it's going to, because there isn't the width of the road from this section. So it's really going to be...
without a mistake.
Well, indeed. And even if there is a mistake, you might get caught up in it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's going to be that drag race down to Lisboa, and Ye-Hong Lee has got, as I said a moment or two ago, to be ready to pounce. Daryl Young will control the pace. He will see the lights go out on top of the safety car. He will then realise that it's up to him. He can choose when he accelerates. And look, he's going to give it a long, long stack as they come down towards the hairpin. So he crawls down towards the Malco hairpin. It might well be that he accelerates straight out of this corner because he knows he's got a good launch out of it. But the safety car's perhaps not far enough away yet for him to do that. So down the hill they trickle. Ye-Hong Lee needs to be right on the back of that Mercedes. He can't be a length back. He's got to be virtually under the rear wing so that when Daryl Young accelerates, he goes with him. And they accelerate through Black Sands, then down towards Fisherman's Bend. The pace car, as it is, the safety car, will head for the pit road. And Daryl Young slowly, slowly, slowly comes down towards us. Those massive rear wings on the back of the cars making them look oh so menacing. He will accelerate now, coming through Fisherman's Bend. Has Ye-Hong Lee gone with him? Just about. Is he near enough to stay with him as they come into the R bend? Remember, the tyre temperatures and pressures have dropped. The Porsche is 2 lengths back. Daryl Young might have been able to cement this, you know, on the restart as they come up towards the line. Through they come. So, racing again. One more lap as they go on to the last lap now. The margin 0.4 of a second. You've got Lokai Law's Mercedes in 3rd place. And Ye-Hong Lee comes out of the draft then on the run down towards Mandarin, but he's not close enough. He's got to try and get in the tow here. And we know that Daryl Young has been covering off the inside line down towards Lisboa for lap after lap after lap. Right up against the guardrail they go. But the Mercedes is far enough ahead. Daryl Young looks as though he has secured the lead, and therefore potentially the win in the Macau GT Cup race. He flings the car into Lisboa for the last time, and he's clearing the lead.
And it was wonderful to hear the restart. You could hear the noise of the Mercedes engine when he decided to go for it, and this is the advantage that the Mercedes has over the Porsche. In fact, rather than the Porsche attacking for the lead, he's having to look in his mirrors as well, isn't it? Because it could be 2 Mercedes on the top 2 steps of the podium if the Porsche was to make the slightest of errors on this mountain section of the circuit. The Mercedes in third place, right there. Low Kai Het Low is the second of the Mercedes. All three of them close up a little on this mountain section, but the Porsche is really rather looking in the mirrors rather than towards the front. Darrell O'Young, just half a lap to go now for the number 95 car. The rebuilt car overnight turns into police up towards Moorish. They all three close up together. The advantage has been held pretty much race long going through the Melco hairpin for the Mercedes, the race leader. Then into Donna Maria they go, the long left-hander downhill towards the hairpin, and the Porsche has closed right up. It's broken away from the third place Mercedes into the no overtaking zone at Melco. Mercedes, Porsche, Mercedes.
Darrell O'Young has done enough surely now, because again a good run out of the hairpin. Accelerates down towards Black Sands. Ye Hong Lee is close, but no cigar, because as they turn right now into Fisherman's Bend, the Mercedes is hanging on in there. There's tank tape, there's smoke, but a car that was absolutely smashed yesterday is going to be a winner seemingly on Grand Prix Day. Ye Hong Lee pulls out of the draft, tries to force a mistake out of Darrell O'Young at the last corner. Checker flag at the ready, and it is a victory in the Sands China Macau GT Cup 2. Darrell O'Young, he wins. Ye Hong Lee does the fastest lap on the last lap and gets to within 0.285 of a second. Third is Loa Kai Loa in the Mercedes ahead of Marchi Lee in the Aston Martin. Fourth, David Pun's Aston Martin is fifth. And it is Lin Nan for sixth place. But that is the man of the day, Darrell O'Young, who has repaid the Craft Bamboo Racing team brilliantly after 24 hours of work, no sleep. They've got the car rebuilt, they've got it on the track, and it is a winning car. And the fact that Ye Hong Lee has gone charging past suggests the frustration that he just could not make a move against that. Frustrated too that he had a number of laps taken away by that safety car period, but you can't take it away from Darrell O'Young, because it was an absolutely outstanding start, and he drove with a masterclass in defensive driving around here.
And I'm going to guess that it's pretty emotional stuff inside the number 95 Mercedes at the moment. Darrell O'Young finishing the race yesterday as he did, to have the car rebuilt to take the start of the race, which was never a foregone conclusion.
The way that Loa Kai Loa is going suggests he doesn't know the race has finished, because he locked up there and almost got towards the barrier. He was determined to overtake Ye Hong Lee, and he's gone storming on. This is not a slowing down lap pace, is it? It's
quite a pace, I think is the best way to describe it. The way the Porsche went past the race winner, he would for sure know the race is finished, but that little section for the Mercedes was, yeah, very speedy indeed.
I think he might have got the message now.
Yes.
But Ye Hong Lee frustrated as well that the race didn't go his way. But in a sense, that's been interesting to see how it's panned out with different winners across the two races.
Yes.
And Darrell O'Young proving that anything can happen at Macau.
And what this does prove again and again is that GT racing, GT3 car racing around the streets of Macau is a wonderful sight to see, and a wonderful story. Have you thought about writing scripts for EastEnders or something similar? Because that one all panned out really rather well, didn't it? According to the hopes and dreams of Darrell O'Young before the start of the race, and for the team as well. And worth 21 days in quarantine to head out onto the streets of Macau to take the top step in what is a very important race.
And Darrell O'Young's first win at Macau since that first GT Cup victory of his back in 2008. So he's been on a grid every year since, but he hasn't had a win. So it's a second win in the GT Cup, but it's also only his second Macau win.
I've just seen something that I've not seen before, and the marshals at that particular corner, every lap they wave all of their flags. Yeah. I've just seen a floor mop being waved as well at that corner. So I'm not sure if that's become an international flag signal for marshals.
Slippery surface.
Slippery surface.
Mop it up, yeah. Well, there the cars come down the pit lane. Marchi Lee in the end finishing in fourth, and a frustrated Alexandre Imperatori for 12th place. But Darrell O'Young,
I think we'll have a wait for him.
Yeah, savouring the lap, I think, yeah. And actually, I would imagine he's absolutely worn out, because the demands of concentration for so long of keeping Ye Hongli behind will not have been easy.
Did you see officials on the start-finish gantry applauding Darrell Young taking the win?
Yeah.
It's not always you see that sort of involvement in the results of a race, but I think everybody here knows just what a huge effort has been made by all involved. And when you see a car come to the end of a race like we did yesterday for Darrell Young to then convert that into victory the following day, well, it's a wonderful story, isn't it, for this driver, number 95, Darrell Young.
And the fact that he's a Hong Kong driver as well, so a driver from the region, also helps with the headlines. And we'll get then the drivers through the scrutineering checks, the Parc Ferme area, and a great reception for race winner Darrell Young, and justifiably a great reception for him.
Yeah, that's the kind of reception we haven't seen so far today, have we? And if you bear in mind that there was a Touring Car Championship title decided, well, the cheers seem to be better for Darrell Young. And the cheers were pretty good for a Touring Car Championship winner. This is a lovely story. First win for Darrell Young since the inaugural win, the inaugural race. Climbs out of the car after 21 days in a hotel, and you can see how much that means. What a wonderful sight. And thank you, team. What a great job you did. The car was good.
Poor mechanic's thrown around like a rag doll, isn't he? Darrell Young absolutely brimming with delight.
A wonderful human story, that.
Yeah, really is.
And we'll see that emotion in a few moments. There'll be Wade and Darrell Young still punching the air and delighted, posing for cameras, for phones, and hugs all round with the Craft Bamboo team. And you lose together, you win together.
And you rebuild together. But like you said, it's a skeleton crew, you know, 3 mechanics, an engineer, a couple of support staff. It's nothing like you'd have in a European event.
Yes, yeah.
If travel were so much easier. So, handshakes, battered cars being retrieved. Darrell Young stands on the scales. And in due course will make his way to the podium. And Darrell Young set to take off his helmet and the hands device, put them back in the car. And the local hero, people having the officials having their photos taken. There's a mask for Darrell to put on in a moment as well, as the Macau staff get ready, the event staff get ready to take him towards the podium. But a big, big smile for a very happy man. People
like motor racing for all sorts of different reasons. Some people like the technical aspect, the engineering side of it. Some people like the racing. Some people like the people. It's the human interest stories that first got me involved in my love of motor racing. And here's another one of those great examples. The teamwork that have gone together to bring this story to its conclusion on this weekend. And it continues as well, doesn't it? A wonderful sight.
Yeah. I mean, at one point yesterday evening, Darrell Young did not think he was in this race. The car was so badly damaged. And he's done it. They've got the car on the grid. The cheers echo around as he's almost like a rock star.
Absolutely superb.
So Darrell Young wins the Sands China Macau GT Cup from Ye Hongli, and then Lo Kai Lo in 3rd place. Mochi Lee takes 4th ahead of David Pun and Lin Nan, with Lu Ren in 7th place, 8th to Lu Wei, 9th to Wong Kwai Wah, and Brian Lai in 10th place, with quite a number of them not making it to the finish. But the podium beckons for our winning drivers, and there's only one more race to go, but it's the big one. It is the Macau Grand Prix itself, the SJM-backed race for Formula 4 single-seaters, and that is going to be the next activity on track. The race is due to start at 3:30, which means that we have the break and the build-up before it, And for all of that, there is a podium to look forward to as well. And the winning drivers will be coming through the crowds of people behind the podium. Daryl Young, very much in demand. I suspect it could be quite a long press conference that he's in.
I think it might be, yeah.
In a few minutes after the podium as well. Great drive, though, because all that pressure, he did not put a wheel wrong. The car may not have been perfect, but the way he drove it was.
What do you think would have happened had we not had a safety car at the end?
I think he was going to hang on.
Yeah.
Because the only place that Ye Hong Lee had the width to overtake, he was never quite close enough. Part of that was the good drive out of the hairpin.
Yes.
Every lap that set him up to be able to cover
set
off
the car up. Yeah.
The section that was Porsche friendly. Yeah.
We often say how important the Melco hairpin is. It might not be an overtaking area. In fact, it's positively not an overtaking area, but a good journey through the Melco hairpin and a good run down through the hill. Absolutely fantastic. Sets you up for perfect lap.
The winning drivers.
Podium is coming up.
Number 99,
The
Lau Kai Lau.
China Macau GT Cup.
Congratulations. First runner-up, number 33, Ye Hong Lee. And our winner, number 95, Daryl O. Young. Congratulations. Grand reception. And now, national anthem for the winner. May I please ask Dr. Wilfred Wong, President and Executive Director of San China Limited, to present the trophy to our second place driver and third place driver. First to third place driver Lau Kai Lau from Hangzhou. Congratulations. Then to second place driver Ye Hong Lee from Shanghai. Congratulations. May I have the honor to invite Ms. Aoyang Yu, Secretary for Social Affairs and Culture and President of the Macau Grand Prix Organizing Committee, to present the trophy to our winner, number 95, Daryl O. Young, driver from Hong Kong. Congratulations. And now let's get closer to the middle for a group photo. Trophies in the air. Congratulations to our winning drivers. And thank you to our presenters.
Lovely scenes celebrating on the podium. Daryl Young, and quite a story over the course of the 3 days of the Macau Grand Prix.
Bring the winning drivers champagne.
I suspect the champagne celebrations are going to be very
enthusiastic.
Yes, from Darrell Young. You can see the disappointment in Yi Hong Lee, can't you?
Yes.
He's got absolutely no desire to stand there.
Job well done, congratulations.
Doesn't even spray, just swings, turns his back on
That's
the
a
whole
shower of victory.
affair. And he knows that it was down to him, and basically he blew the start. A better start, it would have been a win. But it wasn't to be.
He's about to chink bottles with
magnificent drivers.
Good sound effects as well with our race winner, Darrell Young, who's enjoying every moment of this trophy, champagne, and top step of the podium at Macau.
Very support for Darrell Young, like we have not heard for anybody.
It's superb, isn't it?
Yeah.
A wonderful story has unfolded.
Absolutely. The drivers will go to the press conference, and we will have a break before we get to the SJM Formula 4 Macau Grand Prix, the last race of this weekend. It's flown by, hasn't it? And one more race to see whether or not it's going to be back-to-back wins for Charles Leung. But let's first of all go to the press conference. Darrell Young wins the Sands China Macau GT
Welcome
Cup.
everybody to the winners' press conference for the Sands China Macau GT Cup. And in first place we have Darrell Young, Craft Bamboo Racing. Second place, Ye Hong Lee, Toro Racing. And third place, Ro Kai Lo, Toro Racing. Congratulations to all three of you. Darrell, amazing. You won the race in 2008, the very first Macau GT Cup. You won today. You become only the second driver to win the race in two different brands. You have had a very dramatic weekend. Terrible luck yesterday, in your own words.
I'm actually kind of lost for words, to be honest. We made it onto the grid with 10 seconds to go. Because once they open the pit gate and I don't make it out, then I'm not on the grid. So literally 10 seconds before we got the car together. And the guys worked, they worked, I don't know how now, I kept 35 hours or something. They worked since 7:30 yesterday, all through the night, didn't stop for a second. And that was just like, really this victory is for them. Because it's unbelievable. Like when you look at the car, you thought it's written off. And they did everything possible. So first off, like big thanks to the team, most importantly, because they didn't stop. And then, yeah, just the race, the car is quite damaged. The chassis is bent. So we just, you know, I'm sure the other guys could see behind us struggling a lot. So I just tried to run the race, control the race really. Like in the hills, I didn't push very hard, try to save my tires, and then in the bottom, I tried to push harder, where they could attack me, and that was kind of how I ran my race because I didn't have any other chance. So and maybe the safety car saved me a bit today, but yeah, just really glad with the team. Uh, 多謝我嘅車隊啦，因為佢哋今個賽事咧，佢哋冇停過整架車，成晚24小時喺度繼續喺度整架車，整到我哋10秒前出去咧，架車先整好嘅。所以呢個係都好刺激啦，我自己都好緊張嘅。跟住去到個比賽咧，我個車架都係歪咗嘅，咁個車隊冇時間 set 車，咁就咁出去嘅啫。咁個車咧反而都可以話 OK， 但係個車架真係唔掂。咁我都係轉咗少少個計劃啦。我喺個山上咧，我揸慢咗，跟住去到下路咧，我揸快咗咯。咁呢個係令到我俾個機會咯。去可以 keep 住佢哋喺後邊，因為佢哋行埋都係快過我嘅今日。咁呢個係或者經驗啦。
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Hong Lee, very disappointed for you. I can see how disappointed you are, but a podium at Macau is a podium at Macau. You still had a fantastic race. Tell us about the start and tell us about the restart.
Well, firstly, thanks for Toro for this weekend. We've had a brilliant car, and congrats to Darrell, and I think he's done a decent job. The start, I'm not sure. I saw Darrell is accelerating during the red light, but we'll have a look into that. And the thing is, the whole race, his oil just keeps spraying on my screen, and I can't see anything towards the end of the race. And also, my tire is full of oil. It's really dangerous. I'm surprised that they don't call him in. I mean, it's just very dangerous. Even my teammate behind, he's catching oil on the screen as well. And we've been reported to the team, but no feedback. Anyway, we'll have a look into that as well. But still, I enjoy the fight with Darrell. He's defending really hard. And also, it's very, very difficult to overtake here. There's no space at all. So, yeah. Anyway, congrats, man. 首先非常感谢透热车队给我这次机会，然后在澳门我们有辆非常棒的车，然后也恭喜欧阳若曦在澳门再度拿下冠军。首先说发车，我看到欧阳在我边上红灯的时候他已经在加速了，所以我们会回头再看一下这个是什么情况。然后他的车整场都在往我车上喷油，比赛到最后的时候我的屏幕已经什么都看不到了，全是他的油，而且我的轮胎上都是油，所以我觉得非常危险。然后包括我的队友的屏幕上全都是他的油，我很惊讶，一直冒着烟的车赛会也不会把他叫进去，我觉得这非常危险。然后不过还是跟欧阳有个非常好的比赛，我很享受。虽然在澳门真的很难超车，根本就没有位置，也没有足够的这个优势形成足够的进攻。不管怎么样，还是先恭喜欧阳若曦吧。
Thank you. Look, I can also see your disappointment. You were right up with them during the race all the way. Did you feel you had the pace today to win?
Yes, I think so. I can win the race because, yeah, I still learning off the track. I feel good today. Yeah, but in the start, I did not did a good job. So, but I passed some guys in the first lap, so that's okay for me. But I saw Darrell's car is damaged and the oil is on my screen, so it's a little bit dangerous. My tires and I cannot see the track. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, when I was braking, the car is sliding, so it's a little bit hard for me to drive on the track, but still enjoy the race, and I can follow the two so experienced drivers. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, and in Chinese, please. Thank you.
首先要非常感谢一下 Toro Racing 给我这次机会来澳门跑比赛。然后呢，其实我在起步的时候做的不是很好，然后我也不确定我是没骑好还是别人可能会有一些错误的起步之类的，但是我还是及时止损了，在5号弯、6号弯的时候就把对手给超回来了。然后在比赛期间，其实我觉得我的配置还不错，能紧跟前面2位的前辈，然后我其实还有一定的空间去 push 的。然后其实澳门也是非常难超车，所以说我只能跟着他们。然后我看到前辈的那个欧阳的车上面有一些油滴喷到我玻璃上，然后刹车的时候经常会滑动，然后我觉得对我来说是一个比较大的挑战。然后还是非常享受这场比赛的，我希望明年还能来澳门继续比赛。
Thank you very much, and congratulations to all three of you. If you could have a group photo, please. Thank you.
So that's the press conference for the Sands China Macau GT Cup, and what a story unfolded over the course of 12 laps.